Before this video goes on, I want to let you guys know that the Razorback is the exact same as the PDW. So if I ever talk about the PDW, just know the Razorback is the exact same thing in terms of all of the stats I'm telling you guys. The only difference is the skin, the iron sights, and the sound of the gun. In terms of the functionality, it is identical. With that being said, let's go ahead and cut to the video. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's HawksNest here, back with another Call of Duty mobile video. Now, in today's video, we'll actually be comparing two very similar SMGs and probably two of the best SMGs besides the MSMC. The MSMC is the best SMG in terms of like really close quarter combat. If you're inside a house, it's going to be super useful. But when you're outdoors and taking a little bit longer range fights, the MSMC falls off tremendously. And the recoil on it is extremely brutal, and it is especially bad at longer ranges. But in terms of the RUS-79u, which is unlockable at level 8, and the PDW-57, which is unlockable at level 80, and obviously you can unlock both of those guns a little bit quicker through doing different achievements. So for example, you can get the RUS-79u for 3,000 credits here, and I think there's actually a cheaper version. Yeah, the Gridiron for 1,500, and I think there might be a PDW skin. Okay, so I don't see a PDW skin here at the moment, but there is a challenge that you can actually complete to get it, and that's this challenge, which ends in a day in 14 hours, and all you have to do is just kill 50 people and you get the gun. And I haven't actually done that because I've been grinding on my phone, which is a totally separate account. If you guys didn't know, I've been playing on my phone, and we're actually one stream away from getting legendary. If you guys actually want to watch that stream, which will be later today, if you guys are watching this video on the day it released, I will actually be streaming me getting legendary on this device, and I will be streaming like basically every day me playing on this device or my iPad. If you guys want to see that, make sure to drop a sub on my stream channel, which will be linked down below. But anyway, as I was saying, the PDW and the RUS-79u are two of the most versatile SMGs. Both guns have a lot of very strong traits about them that make them usable at longer distance, and they also are fairly usable at close distance. Obviously, they're SMGs, so they're good at close distance, but again, they're not going to be like the MSMCs. And at longer distance, they're not going to be competing against like an S36, AK-117, HBR, snipers, things like that. But at mid-range, they are very solid SMGs, and once again, they can hold their own at close and long range. But anyway, with these guns being so similar, a lot of people have the question which one is better. So basically in this video, we'll be going over all of the stats, all of the traits, or at least the ones that matter and are important to deciding which one you like more and which one you should use. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into that. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to be looking at is the recoil of the two guns. Now, what you're looking at right now is 3 different shot patterns on each gun. And the gray recoil in the back is going to be the recoil without a grip, and the white recoil in the front is going to be the recoil with a grip. I do want to mention that both of these guns can do over 30 rounds, but I decided to do just 30 rounds because that is the standard for testing recoil whenever I do actually test the gun's recoil. And that's just so we can kind of keep a consistent standard. So obviously if you're spraying the entire mag of either of these guns, then you're going to be having a little bit worse recoil, but most of the time you're not going to be putting more than 30 shots consecutively out of your gun. But anyway, as you can tell, the recoil with the RUS is really bad if you don't have a grip. I would definitely say the RUS benefits greatly from actually having a grip. If it doesn't have a grip, it goes side to side and just goes all over the place, goes up, horizontal. It bounces like crazy. But if you do put a grip on it, it is actually very manageable, and I'd say the recoil is very similar to that of like the BK-57. But once again, yeah, it's just very manageable. Now, if we look over at the PDW, you can tell it has some bounce, but it doesn't have nearly as bad bounce as the RUS without a grip. And also the recoil with a grip is a little bit greater than the RUS vertically. It does have a little bit of bounce side to side as well. I have personally found that it's easier for me to control a PDW with and without a grip as opposed to the RUS. Kind of depends on what you're used to. Personally, I do think the PDW is a little bit better at recoil. Without the grip, it definitely is better though. But if you do like having a grip on your gun, then maybe the RUS is going to benefit you a little bit greater. But either way, these recoils are pretty similar, and I'd say a grip benefits both a decent amount. But definitely the RUS benefits a lot more. And if we look at the recoil all combined, we get a very similar story. As you can tell, the RUS kind of goes side to side and stuff, and then the PDW is kind of the same. So that's going to be the recoil, but obviously the recoil is not going to tell the entire story. That's just going to kind of help you understand how the gun actually handles. But there's a couple other things that are very important to get into so that we can actually understand which gun you want to take. Next up, let's go ahead and look at the ADS time of both guns. So if we do look at the ADS time, this is basically how long in milliseconds it takes your gun to scope in when you press the ADS button, or if you have the ADS setting on, how long does it take when you press the shoot button for you to actually fully ADS and start shooting. This is a very important stat if you are a very aggressive player and you don't like to hit fire that often, and it is even more important if you do actually have the ADS setting on, as your gun cannot shoot unless it is ADS'd, so you want to have guns that can ADS very fast. so that you can shoot people as soon as possible. But anyway, the RUS and the PDW do actually have identical stats for ADS time, and you can see those numbers on your screen right now. Just to let you guys know, this is also extremely fast. Most SMGs do have a extremely fast ADS time. It's just one of the natural parts of an SMG, I guess. But yeah, so that's the ADS time. Now, if we look at the magazine comparison, this is where we find a little bit of a difference between the two weapons. And that difference mainly lies in the magazine size of the two weapons. So as you can tell, the PDW has a mag size of 50, and you can get it up to 58 with an extended mag, which I don't recommend. I don't think you need a extended mag. And the RUS has 36 rounds, and you can take it up to 44. I think the RUS, you could have an extended mag, but personally, I don't think it's that necessary. In terms of the reload speed, the PDW is a slightly slower reload speed, and it's actually the exact same between both guns with a fast mag. I tested this a lot of times, and I'm almost positive this is exactly what the reload speeds are. And either way, the normal reload speed is only 0.1 seconds different between the PDW and the RUS, so it's not that different. So you can honestly say that the reload speeds across the board are pretty much the same between the PDW and the RUS. In terms of the movement speed for the PDW and the RUS, they have identical sprint and strafe speeds. And basically what these are is the speed of you sprinting, which is just you running, I guess. And then the strafe speed is when you are actually ADS. So when you're aiming at someone and you're moving side to side or forward and back, this is the speed that you're going to be moving at. I do plan on making an entire video covering this technique, strafing, because it is a very, very, very important technique to winning a lot of gunfights. And in that video, I also talk about how to get faster strafe speeds and things like that. So if you guys want to see that video, make sure to drop a like down below and sub so you guys can see it when it actually does come out. But anyway, the RUS and the PDW have identical sprint and strafe speeds, which both are very fast and pretty standard for the SMG class. Next up is the material penetration. There's no exact stats because it depends on the materials, but both the PDW and the RUS have low material penetration. There's not a lot of things you can actually wallbang, and the things that you can wallbang, you're not going to be getting a lot of damage through it. So if you are someone that does like to wallbang a lot, maybe putting an FMJ on this weapon would be decent, but the thing about the FMJ is the FMJ doesn't allow you to wallbang things that you wouldn't be able to wallbang before. So say there's a concrete wall, you can't wallbang it. If you put an FMJ on, you're still not going to be able to wallbang it. I have an entire video also covering the FMJ if you guys want to watch that. I go over the SMGs as well. But anyway, these guns do both have low penetration, and they have identical penetration since all SMGs are the same in this regard. Next up is the headshot multiplier. This is how much more damage you do when you hit someone in the head, and both guns have a headshot multiplier of 1.1x, meaning that the headshot multiplier is very low. Next up is the fire rate of the two weapons. The PDW has a fire rate of 745 rounds per minute, and the RUS has a rounds per minute of 755. This is basically identical, although the RUS does take the slight edge, but once again, it's nearly identical. It's not going to make a big difference most of the time, but it is worth pointing out that the RUS is slightly faster. Now let's go ahead and break down the damages and the ranges of the two weapons. Okay, so now what you're looking at is a graphic that is actually very simple as soon as you understand it, and honestly pretty cool once you get a grasp of it. Basically what it's showing in white is the damage of the guns, and the colors behind it is basically the range that the gun will do this damage. So for example, the PDW up to 5 meters will deal 27 damage, and then from 6 to 13 meters it will deal 22 damage, and so on and so forth. Now, I do want to point out that the PDW does have a little blue range because most guns typically don't have a different damage in like the 0 to 5 meter range. So most of the time we just have green to represent close range. But for whatever reason, the PDW has a unique range where if you're super, super close, you do even more damage. Now, obviously this doesn't tell us the full story. What is going to tell us pretty much most of the story though is a time to kill chart. So now let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, so now what we're looking at is the time to kill chart, and as you can tell, it's the exact same. The numbers just changed. So what the numbers are now is the time that it takes to kill someone in milliseconds. So basically it's saying if you start shooting, how long is it going to take before you put out enough bullets to actually kill a player that is full HP? Now that might sound specific, but it's really not, because most of the time when you take a fight with someone, they're full HP. I'd say 90 to 95% of the fights you take are against someone that is full HP. So basically what this will be doing is taking into account the damage and the fire rate to give us a calculation of how many milliseconds it takes to kill somebody. So the lower the number, the faster it is to actually take someone down. So you can go ahead and see all of the numbers there, but obviously it is kind of hard to break down what gun is better and all that. So I went ahead and kind of like compared them and made a little graphic that makes it very easy to understand which guns are better at different ranges. Okay, so now you're looking at basically what gun is better at certain ranges. So from 0 to 5 meters, the PDW actually kills faster than the RUS by 76 milliseconds. And then from 18 to 21 meters, the RUS actually kills faster than the PDW by 85 milliseconds. And then from 26 to 29 meters, the PDW once again kills faster by 74 milliseconds. And for all of the time in between, it does switch back and forth a little bit, but I do want to mention that the difference between the two guns is only a couple milliseconds, and that really doesn't matter that much. But what I did highlight is the drastic differences between the two guns. So as you can tell, the PDW does actually take the cake on this one for the most part, because in like really close range, it's going to kill faster than the RUS, and then at a little bit farther range, the RUS picks up a little bit, but it's only for 3 meters. And then for another 3 meters later on, the PDW is faster once again. So as you can tell, for the most part, they are extremely similar guns, but really close up, the PDW is going to beat the RUS if you're able to hit your shots basically every single time. And once again, this time to kill chart is based on if you're able to hit all of your shots, and that's why it's important to factor in recoil, because if a gun's recoil is super bad and it's able to kill really fast, then that's useless because you're not going to be able to hit your shots. So when you're looking at a gun and how good it is important to take into account both the recoil and the time to kill. So that's why I showed you guys both. So by now, you're probably thinking the PDW is better, and I do actually agree with that personally. I think the PDW is the better option. I think it's also a little bit more friendly with the bigger mag size. But I do know a lot of people that have came to me and said that they just like the AKS more, and I've looked at every stat and I've just been trying to figure out what it is, and basically what people have told me is that they feel like the gun is a little bit more versatile and is better with attachments. So we've already looked at a couple different attachments and the effects, and we've been able to see that they're the exact same, but there is 2 attachments that are kind of different between the RUS and the PDW, and we'll go ahead and look at those right now. Okay, so now what we're looking at is the exact same chart as before, but now we're just looking at the RUS. And what attachments we're going to be looking at now is the long barrel, the suppressor, and then the long barrel plus the suppressor. So basically, again, this is the exact same chart. It's just showing the ranges and then the damages on the top left just to kind of clean it up, just so you can understand the effect of the attachments. So as you can tell, the standard is the second from the top. That is just the normal AKS, or not AKS, RUS. Sorry, they changed the name. But anyway, you can tell the long barrel does give it a nice little boost. I do think the long barrel is a very valuable attachment on the RUS. It does make it feel a lot more like an AR. So if you do like ARs and the AKS just feels like, or sorry, the RUS once again, if it does feel like it's a little it doesn't have very good range, the long barrel is a very good attachment for it. And if we do look at the suppressor has no damage reductions except for one really weird range. And that's from 19 to 21 meters. For whatever reason, the damage is at 16 damage when it should be at 22 damage. So once again, from 19 to 21 meters on the AKS with the suppressor, the damage falls off by 6 points, which is a lot of damage. So honestly, I don't really recommend the suppressor on the RUS, but if you do want to use it, you can combo it with a long barrel, and what will happen is you'll have absolutely no negative or positive effects of either in terms of the range and the damage. But then what you'll have is the positive effects of the suppressor, which is that your gun is quieter and you don't pop up on the minimap when you actually shoot. Now, obviously, this doesn't change most of the range, so it's kind of up to you if you want to do this or not. If you do take fights around the 19 to 21 meter mark, which I will show you guys on the screen right now what that looks like on a couple different maps, then this could definitely be a valuable setup for you. But if you find yourself using this gun a lot more close range, number 1, I would recommend just taking the PDW instead. But number 2, then yeah, I wouldn't really recommend that because, again, the ranges aren't changed at all except for that little 19 to 21 meter range. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at the same chart with the PDW. Okay, so as you can tell, the PDW doesn't get that big of a effect from the long barrel. Obviously, the long barrel does help a little bit, but I would say the RUS did have a bigger benefit. And in terms of the suppressor, I found that the suppressor does have a slight impact on the very close range where it does 27 damage. So if you look at the blue with the suppressor, it is a smaller range. And there is also that weird void range as well, where the gun actually will do 17 damage at 13 meters. which isn't the worst thing in the world, but once again, that is going from 22 to 17, so it is still quite a big drop off. But again, it's only 1 meter, so the chances of you actually running into this being a problem is pretty slim. But if you totally want to avoid that issue altogether, what you can do is combo the long barrel plus the suppressor, and you'll get rid of the negative range or whatever at 13 meters. But obviously, you still do have that little range drop off at the very start where you lose about a meter. So if that matters to you, then I guess don't take the suppressor. But I have noticed a lot of people are starting to build the PDW as a stealth class, which I think is a very solid option with this gun, considering that the suppressor really doesn't hurt it that much. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would go over the classes, but I feel like you guys now understand enough about the guns to kind of make the classes yourselves. And then also just the classes can be very unique. There's a lot of different things you can do to actually build your class out, and I've recommended plenty of different options for you. One video I would recommend watching is Godsley's stealth class video. He does show a very good PDW class in that video if you do want to see it. But make sure to drop a like and a sub down below if you guys did enjoy. My final conclusion is, personally, I like the PDW better. I think there is benefits of both guns. I do think the AKS can be built to feel more like an AR basically, but the PDW is a little bit more of an SMG, and it's also a little bit more forgiving with the bigger magazine size. So again, I personally prefer the PDW. I think it's a little bit more meta over the AKS. I think the recoil is a little bit better as well. Let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure to drop a like down below and a sub down below as well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.